everybody. This is Diane. Welcome to Biters.
This is Marnell.
The Real Housewives are back yet again. It's caught on. People are calling us the Real Housewives. I think it's kind of funny.
I seriously need to get that domain name.
You do need to get that domain name.
Yeah, before somebody else does.
Yeah.
And then, like, the Learning Channel or whoever does the Real Housewives now, because TLC stands for Terrible Life Choices, not the Learning Channel. They're going to offer me like $1 million when they eventually do the Real Housewives of Alaska.
Will you share it with me since I got you started in this?
I would totally share it with you.
Excellent.
Yeah, we could buy all the horses and dogs that our significant others don't want.
We could give houses to all of the horses and dogs that are in need.
Right, my house.
And mine.
And your house.
We had an offer to have someone local purchase Scoogie from us, and I was like, I'm very flattered, but no thank you. He stays with us until he dies.
Yeah, he came back to you, and I think the rule is if it comes back to you,
it's yours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's too damaged for anybody else to want. It's yours.
It's so true, man. And I was like, besides, she knows like the guru of Icelandic horses here in Alaska who's very, very proud of his horses. I was like, surely he has a much higher quality horse he can sell her. I was being snarky. So, still gotta mean something. Season 8, episode 14. We're 2 episodes away.
2 episodes.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
It is.
So, how did you rate it?
I think this is one of my lower ratings for the season.
Which is super funny because I think this is one of my higher ratings in a while.
Of course. And, you know, I'm normally like, blah, 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 blah. And I really don't have a lot to say about this episode. So we're probably going to run 2 hours. But I gave it a 4.0 creepers on a creeper.
Okay, what's really, really, really funny is I gave it a solid 4.5 Negans on a trolley.
Oh, that's funny. So,
and we
you know what I'm talking about.
Compare this ahead of time.
No, we didn't. So I thought I was going to have to explain what a creeper was to you.
No, not at all.
So for those of you who are not automotively inclined, Di and I kind of grew up around gearheads, and a creeper is the little trolley thing that Negan was tied to that slide underneath cars to do work. And that was a pretty nice one, I gotta say.
I have taken my life into my hands. I am outside of the prison yet again. So you risk your life.
So Marnell might have to do some fill-in for Emperor Yamamoto.
He seems relatively settled at the moment.
At the moment.
But yes.
But yeah, that's really funny that we had basically the same rating.
And you thought yours was low, you thought yours was low and I thought mine was high.
Yeah. Yeah, we only talked about one thing prior to this episode, and that was not it.
That was not it at all.
That's funny. Great minds. I mean, how many times do we have this discussion on the show where we're like, I'm so on the same page as you. At the exact same thought at the exact same time.
Well, you know, we are like soulmates. We're sisters, but we're soulmates.
We're soul sisters.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the numbers from last week were, interestingly enough, you know, my brain immediately went, not so good. But then my brain once again was like, still number 1. Mm-hmm. So it was in Live Plus 7, 10.4 million viewers, which was a 3.7 million increase over what it was in Live Plus same day views. So it was still really good. I mean, it was 10 million. It wasn't Roseanne, but...
Which, based on their first episode ratings, they got greenlit for season 2.
I know, right?
You know, as controversial as I think some of her statements are, she's got to be doing something right. Congratulations to her.
There you go.
Girl power.
I don't have a lot to say about writer and director. Director was Michael Satrazemis. Writer was Eddie Guzelian. I hope I'm saying that right. Who wrote Dead or Alive or just very recently.
Is that his only credit?
Well, I think that's his only Walking Dead credit.
Well, right. But that's interesting that they've got kind of a new writer writing for him.
But there's so many people who are repeating roles in this season.
Yeah,
we're seeing a lot of the same writers and directors in this season. We're not seeing a lot of variation.
Right.
But anyway, so I figured we could move right into title, which is Still Gotta Mean Something, which is Rick talking about a man's word. It's still gotta mean something.
Which his means nothing.
Right. So here's my question. Can Rick be trusted? I mean, my immediate reaction was he is no better than Negan.
Yeah. That's, I have a thing about that, but, so I think his word means nothing to anybody who's not in his little circle. Like, his word means something to Maggie or to Michonne, but it means nothing to saviors or even people he doesn't know, like Sadiq before he kind of knew Sadiq. And, Sadiq has become part of the inner circle now. But
I don't know that Sadiq is part of the inner circle yet. I mean, Sadiq is part of our group, but I don't know that he's...
It remains to be seen. But, I mean, if Rick's concerned about him, he is very low on the list at this point.
Right.
So, but I think Rick's word is mud to anybody but Alexandrians, Kingdomers, and Hilltoppers. So
I was really disappointed in Rick. I mean, I know that you always say this, the villain is the hero of his own story, but I was like, I am finally completely convinced that he's not a whole heck of a lot better than Negan. He just isn't so obvious.
And the juxtaposition between the fall of Rick and the rise of Negan. I mean, Negan was kind of a okay guy this episode. I mean,
right? Which was really funny because I think Pollyanna McIntosh said it on Talking Dead. He basically does one sympathetic thing and everybody's like, oh, Negan's not that bad a guy.
Right?
Because we're so used to him being such a creep.
Right. And so it's actually, this whole thing is my ugly, but.
Oh, well, we'll stop.
It's
we don't want
to. There's a scene that I would like to talk about that relates to this whole thing.
Okay.
So we'll go into that later.
Very good. So our featured cast was Carrie Cahill, who was Diane, the archer.
Yes, and I was thoroughly convinced that we had already done her as a featured cast.
I was too, but I think I just kind of mentioned that I really liked her.
And we've talked about her being a bow woman before because we've talked about the different bows that have been used on the show because I love bow and arrow. I love archery. Like, I'm a pretty decent shot. And I'm actually taking a class this Friday and Saturday on how to hunt and field dress and skin small animals. So
I would just like to point out that Marnell just pretends I'm really more Alaskan than she is.
Oh, could you field dress an animal?
Actually, I field dressed a deer when I was in Washington State in October. Thank you very much.
I have field dressed a deer and a bear, but I have never field dressed smaller animals.
Oh, well, I field dressed a rabbit before, but that was a long time ago.
We've been watching this show on the History Channel, and it's not about aliens.
Are you sure you're on the right channel?
Right. It's called Alone, and they drop survivalists off with like a backpack of stuff and some tarps and stuff. On the first two seasons take place on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, and the third season takes place in Patagonia because there were some issues with them like eating limpets, which you're not supposed to do, and cutting bull kelp and stuff like that. So they went to someplace with much less regulation. But it's a super interesting show, and they're basically like whoever is the last person to radio in and tap out wins $500,000. And so you basically just have to survive. You have to hunt, you have to heal yourself, you have to make a shelter and, you know, keep your fire going, all this kind of stuff. And like there are people that tap out the first day, and there are people that last 3 months.
I know what you're gonna do.
So I'm seriously like, who can't last a day? Because the survivalist class that I've taken before have been like, basically anywhere you are, you have to survive 72 hours. And that's about how long it usually takes to rescue people. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but the average is 72 hours. Who taps out the first day? Like, I'm like, you can't even last 72 hours. You're not even really hungry yet. Like,
Paris Hilton taps out in the first day.
Right? I mean, these people, like, they went through a screening process. They're trained survivalists. And, like, one guy was just like, it won't stop raining. I'm like, you're in Vancouver, dude. Of course it's not going to stop raining. You know, they're like, oh, a bear was in my campsite last night. And I'm like, dude, a bear was eating trash in my front yard this morning. Like, chill out.
Trash panda.
Trash panda. So, yes, I am trying to up my zombie apocalypse survival game. So,
right on. Well, if anyone can do it, you can, sister.
Yeah. So that's why Diane's character speaks to me. That's why Carrie Cahill, looking at her movies and everything, she does generally play strong female characters.
Oh, I'm so glad you found some movies for her, because I just found her little mini bio on IMDb, and I was really disappointed because it didn't have very much.
Yeah, her bio doesn't have very much, but her movie credits, she's got a ton.
Good. I'm glad you have more info on that than I do.
And like I said, I could have sworn we've done her before, but I think we've just talked about her a lot because we like her.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, I thought to myself, somebody needs to start keeping track of our featured cast members. So if somebody could just Steven that out, that would be great.
Which
and
would
only
be
20% of you got that joke.
Right, exactly. Leave it
in. It's funny, looking back in her IMDb credits, her very first movie credit was for a TV movie called The Staircase Murders. Does that sound familiar?
Yes, it does! Oh my god!
Hello, Murderinos.
Oh, hello, fellow Murderinos. Laurel, Michelle, if you are out there, hello.
So, Carrie Cahill was Barbara O'Hare in the Staircase Murders TV movie, which
is totally a My Favorite Murder thing.
It is. It was like one of the very first My Favorite Murders, and they have gone back to that well several times.
Oh,
so
my God, that is hilarious.
I know. Like, the symmetry of all of this is just... Well, it gets sad. The symmetry gets sad, and we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But, so one of the movies that she's actually got a lot. She's got a movie filming, one announced, one completed, 2 post-production, and 1 pre-production.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So she is a busy, busy lady.
Yeah, I could easily become a Carrie Cahill fan.
I know. I'm like, I when I saw all of the stuff above The Walking Dead and that it was all in red, so meaning it's not out yet.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh God, we're losing Diane. Like, she's getting killed off because she's got a lot of stuff upcoming. And then it was like, oh wait, a couple of these are completed and in post-production. Like, she's just working in the off time, you know. Her days on set are probably pretty minimal. She can probably finish a lot of filming. You know, she probably does a lot of her Walking Dead filming in like 4 days or something, and then it's just spliced together throughout the season. And she's got a lot of time to do other stuff. But I
hope the fact that they've been pulling her in more and more means we're going to see more of her. You know?
Right.
Yeah, I hope that it means that she's going to become a bigger and bigger character.
Right. And I'm really hoping that it it doesn't mean that they're setting us up to have her die in All Out War.
Well, they might.
That would be super disappointing.
It would be typical. She's
Yeah.
she's got a little bit of a moral compass feeling to her.
Yeah. 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 So, a couple of the movies that I was actually interested in seeing by her, she did kind of in the middle of her being on The Walking Dead. And the first one is called Good Behavior. And the interview that I saw with her, it talks about how it seemed very Orange is the New Black. Which
oh, really?
I'm a late stage Orange is the New Black fan. She talks about how they do a lot of filming in prisons and like modern prisons, and how the basically the flaws in the prison system. And now that I'm looking at it, it's actually not a movie. It is a TV show called Good Behavior.
Oh, so is she like a narrator, or is it a TV show like series or
series? Looks like there's 20 episodes. But yeah, so that made me want to see it because I'm a late stage Orange is the New Black fan, and it talks about basically the flaws in our modern criminal justice system and our modern prison system.
Holy cow, that was a big bark. I'm sorry.
Is that small?
It's hard to say. Could be Smalls, could be Dexter. Not sure what they're carrying on about.
Oh.
That's what you get when you name your dog after a serial killer.
Well, the bears and stuff are waking up. The boots are coming out. There's probably something crawling around outside.
Probably.
Right. So the other movie that I was interested was a war drama called Mudbound.
Which war?
Go ahead.
Which war?
World War II.
Oh, cool. I like World War II movies.
Yeah. 2 men return home from World War II to work on a farm in rural Mississippi where they struggle to deal with racism and adjusting to life after the war. So, yeah, she kind of has a role that's higher up on the cast list. So I think she gets a little more screen time in that. And it's also with, I can't remember his name. One of the guys from Twilight. Yeah, can't remember his name.
The only ones that I remember are Gerald Lautner, something Lautner, the kid who played the werewolf.
Oh.
And then Robert Pattinson, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, neither of those.
Well, anyway, so she was born in Helena, Montana, and she calls herself an army brat.
She had actually seen every state west of the Mississippi by 10 years old.
Oh, hey, that's cool. I missed that little tidbit too.
Well, I actually watched an interview on YouTube. Jody Zulueta, Zulueta on YouTube. I kind of wanted to give her credit for that. She had like an hour-long interview. And she just seems, I haven't watched any of her other videos, but she just seems like a regular podcaster, but I absolutely loved her green and blue hair. It was gorgeous.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So, so I watched a little bit of a interview with her and learned a lot of little tidbits.
Well, and so the super sad thing, and I'm just going to put it out there, is that her dad was one of the people who was murdered in the Fort Hood shootings in 2009.
Yes.
So, which you pointed out that it's kind of a sad symmetry because today is the day that the shootings at the YouTube headquarters,
right.
Excuse me.
Right. I get a lot of my info from people who have YouTube channels who do interviews of stars and everything. And then where we happen to be doing Carrie's, as a featured cast member, and her dad died in a mass shooting, and there was kind of a mass shooting today, so at YouTube. So it's sort of sad symmetry.
Awful symmetry.
It is. But she has parlayed that into something positive in her life. So,
right. So, and we were going to talk about this group a little bit.
Yeah.
So she has been named the spokesperson for a group called AmVets, American Veterans. You can find them at www.amvets.org. And they're a veterans service organization.
Right.
And they do some really cool stuff.
They do. They do a lot with people who are struggling with PTSD or mental illness after getting out or being in the service. So
it looks like they're an advocacy organization. They do stuff to help vets file VA claims. They help people find employment. It looks like they've got advocacy groups in DC to help vets get represented in the government. I mean, it looks like they do some really awesome stuff. They do scholarships for veterans.
Right.
So you had found that they had a product that you were going to talk about, or a service that you were going to talk about, and encourage any of our listeners who had a few extra bucks to kind of throw that their way.
Yeah. So there's a website called supporthealvets.org, and it's helping heal veterans through therapeutic craft kits. And what it looks like is kind of a leather bracelet. And if you donate $50, you will get one of these kits, and they will also send the one to a veteran. So it helps to support her AmVets cause, and it's doing a good thing for some good people. So you can find them at supporthealvets.org.
And that's HEAL, right?
Yes, okay. HEAL.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
the only other stuff that I kind of wanted to add, she is based out of New Orleans. She studied in New Orleans originally. That was where she first went to drama school. She did some studying in the United Kingdom, and then worked with Second City in Chicago for a while too, which it seems like several folks who are Walking Dead alums have had some time with Second City in Chicago.
I meant to look something up, and I'm going to look it up to see if I can find it. She was in a one-woman show called Grounded that is being made into a movie. And I don't know if she's actually going to be in it. Is that one of her post-productions? It's not.
And what's it about?
If a pop-up would go away. Oh, this is funny. So the movie, I don't think this is the movie that she was in. I will have to find it and see if I can find it and post it to the Biters page. But I just thought it was cool that she was in a one-woman show that's now being made into a movie. But she talked about getting the acting bug, but at between 8 and 9 years old, when her mom brought home a karaoke machine.
Oh, that is too funny.
And she did funny voices, and it was so entertaining to everybody that it just clicked in her head that she wanted to be an entertainer. And so I so identify with that because I'm the youngest of 5, and so to get any sort of attention.
You're the comedian.
I am the comedian.
You've always been the comedian.
I do the funny voices, but the funny thing is I actually don't in my adult life I don't like that much of attention. Like, podcasting is a huge stretch for me. I don't like to put myself out there publicly. I'm kind of an ambivert in that, like, if you can possibly drag me out, I am super fun at parties.
But it's a matter of getting you out the door.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's kind of what I had about her. I thought I had one more thing, but I do. So there was a really good article posted on popsmartnola.com. And she did a really good article, a really good interview right after the Pulse shooting in Orlando.
Oh, wow.
And she talked about what she went through with losing her dad and everything, and having to face mass shootings and stuff. So I feel kind of kindred with her because she has very conflicting views on guns.
Mm-hmm.
I am definitely a blue girl in a red state, but I'm also a gun owner. So, a lot of a lot of things that fly around my head on days like today are very conflicting. And she kind of sounds like she has that same thing going on. So
I think you and I have that in common as well. As I think about the horde of guns that I have out in my garage, don't come to my house. Don't come to my house unannounced. You will be eaten by a dog or worse.
Diane has a dog food cooker.
Yep.
And
sled dogs will eat anything.
And we can field dress mammals. So.
And now, once again, it becomes evidence.
States Exhibit A. So, if you want to read more about that, you can go to popsmartnola.com. And it kind of sounds like she does a lot in the New Orleans area because she's lived there for like 16 years. So
I was wondering if it's hard for her to be on a show that's so violent.
I don't think she sees it that way. I think there's a big separation because, there had been a big separation because you're killing zombies, but now of course you're killing other people. So, she doesn't talk about it so far. She thinks a lot about her character's background. She's got a background for her character in her head. And we'll see if it goes with what they actually have planned for Diane's character and if they're going to show that. But she's also really enjoying playing a very strong female character, and strong in that it doesn't matter that she's female. She's not a strong woman. She's a strong character.
Person. She's a strong fighter. Yeah, I see her as kind of the backbone of the kingdom.
Yeah, and she talks about how not only do you have to be physically tough 4 years, she says this, I think she did say 4 years, but it's only been 2.5. You have to not only be physically strong to have gotten through this, but you have to be mentally tough to have gotten as far as the kingdomers. So I think she focuses a lot more on the positive. She seems like a very, very positive person. So, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I could be a Carrie Cahill fan.
Oh, definitely. And like I said, I thought that we had done her as a featured cast member before, but the more I looked into her, I was like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
That was pretty much my experience today, too.
Yeah. So I'm glad we featured her. Since we couldn't feature the other cast members that
Jared!
that were predominant in this episode because we've already featured them. So do we have any groveling to do?
I don't think so. I think that we did sufficient groveling last week. I don't think there's any new groveling to happen.
I'm impressed at our lack of groveling this weekend. Yeah.
I may have to grovel and ask someone to help you podcast on the 23rd because that's when I'm having my surgery.
Okay, so for those of you that heard the ogre in the background, that was Smalls and his groan.
That's Smalls getting comfortable.
I love it.
Which would also be his zombie sound.
Wait, I need a fill-in co-host of Last Resort.
I think you might need a co-host of Last Resort.
Okay.
Putting the call out there, Thomas Bryan.
You'll have to teach me how to do this for whole recording and editing crap.
I mean, maybe not. We could podcast late. It's just that I'm having my neck filleted open on Monday, April 23rd. So,
yes.
So I'll be a bit down for a couple of days.
Should we take out an insurance policy on your vocal cords? Like,
Oh, no. That would mean that we actually earned money doing the podcast. I think the only one who's contributing to Patreon is me. So
I'm steadily feeling very nervous because, like, I don't, yeah.
The good news is, at least 2 people you can draft.
Right? But I can't do it alone. Like, I don't know if I could, like, I need the other housewife. Like, a fill-in co-host would be great for a while, but yeah.
It'll be okay. This housewife is going to rock it.
Yeah.
All right. Come on. Let's talk about our goods, our bads, and our uglies.
We didn't have anything for Whisperer's Corner?
I don't have anything for Whisperer's Corner. Do you?
I actually don't either because they still haven't not
dealt
settled
with Maggie.
Maggie.
I know Phil sent us something today and I didn't look at that. Was that something appropriate for Whisperer's Corner? There you go. You could get Phil to pinch hit with you.
I could totally get Phil to pinch hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember when Infinity Wars comes out. I might
April 27th.
Yeah.
You won't be doing that alone. I'll be up and running by then.
Okay. So apparently they're coming out with a new book, Quotable Negan.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know, and I think there should be a compendium, Quotable Abrahams.
Oh, and Eugene.
Yes, this needs to be a thing.
Maybe we could do like an Abraham's Army compendium.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But Negan had a really good line on tonight's episode.
He had a couple of really good lines.
Yeah, but one that I'm not going to say on air, but it was during the scene where we get introduced to a mystery guest, maybe. So, I thought that was pretty funny, but it had 2 swear words in it. So,
and he also talked about punching himself in the dick. And he also talked about swearing on his sack. So, yeah. He had a lot of good quotable Negans tonight.
Yeah, definitely. So
I figure I can get away with saying those.
That will definitely be a book I will be investing in. That will be on my shelf. So, yeah.
That's funny. I have the quotable Sandman. You'll have the quotable Negan.
I could post one quote a day out of the book.
That would be awesome.
That would be funny.
We can't finish our podcast with it though because they're probably all swear words. So.
Oh yeah. It'll be your daily aspiration by Negan. That's right up my alley.
All right, give me your good, sister.
I think my good was probably everyone's good. It was the horrible death of Jared.
That was not my good.
Oh, good.
So take it away.
So, we have been waiting for this and waiting for this and waiting for this. And we always hope that the bad men will die terribly.
He really deserved it.
It did not disappoint. It was so satisfying. Oh, Morgan holding him there and him pleading and the walkers tearing into him. I mean, it really just doesn't get any better than that.
So it was a little bit of a callback to Leon Bassett. Remember him from the first episode?
I don't. Oh,
so
yes.
that's the police officer who was turned, who Rick and Morgan found. Just the whole, him getting killed by a walker behind the fence, up against the fence. Yep.
Yeah. But, you always want them to die horribly, and Jared did. And, Josh Michael, is that his name?
Yes. Yeah.
Joshua Michael. He is such a great guy in real life.
He was really funny on Talking Dead.
He was. And but I just love that he is drawn to playing douchey characters, and he does it very, very well. And I'm sad to see Jared go because I love to hate him. But if you're gonna go out, there's no better way to go out. So,
well, and I think Chris Hardwick is right. As long as he keeps that mane, he'll never have a shortage of douchey characters to play. So,
and what's funny is he and Jason Douglas, aka Tobin, which we lost last episode,
right?
He and Jason Douglas are coming out in a movie together, and don't ask me what it is right now, but it's the one that I said on the last episode that has a bunch of Walking Dead alum in it.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, he may be out of the Walking Dead family, but, you know, they're still having reunions on set, so.
No one ever leaves the Walking Dead family. They just retire from the show.
Well, and he was actually a walker in like season 2 or something.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, so maybe we'll recycle him and have him as a distant walker that we can't really tell it's him. But yeah, so that was my good, was an absolutely satisfying end to Jared.
Well, I am going to use Kirk's favorite word. My good was the juxtaposition between Carol and Morgan. So I thought they were really good foils for one another. You know, Morgan was choosing death. Carol was choosing life. Just in the way that they diverged on that path through the woods.
Right. And Morgan was gung-ho and Carol was very reluctant.
And who ends up with Community and Henry? Carol.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like she was not just choosing life, she was choosing uncertainty. She was choosing that it was okay to be uncertain and fragile and to take risks.
Well, she did talk about with Ezekiel how she, you know, the group made her a new person.
Well, I was really happy that she brought up Sophia.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really happy that she had that moment of intimacy with Ezekiel. I thought that was a really nice moment.
Well, and we got to talk about the whole Carol Easter egg thing. I mean, we got an Easter egg on Easter.
We did. I don't know anything about a Carol Easter egg. I totally missed it.
Are you serious?
I'm pretty sure.
Are you like being facetious?
The only thing that I can think of is where Henry was hidden.
Yes.
Okay.
It was the exact spot
where Rick hid Sophia.
And
I'm going to tell you, I'm not that cool. I didn't just come up with that. I think it was actually Talking Dead that featured it, and that's the only reason I had a vague idea of what you were referring to.
I didn't know it was the exact spot. I thought it was, you know, a similar looking one, and hence the symmetry. But they said on the Talking Dead that where Henry was exactly where Rick pointed to and hid Sophia. And, you know, Sophia, her daughter died and she wasn't able to save her, and she was able to save Henry. And so she kind of got that closure.
Well, and Thomas Reese said in his comment on the Biters page that Carol finally got to save Sophia.
Right. Yeah. So for as low as I rated this episode, there was a lot of things that was very satisfactory.
A 4 is not a low rating. A 4 is a B. A 4 is 80%.
Well, my other lowest rating was a 4.2 this season. So, yeah.
You've rated this season pretty high.
I have a hard time rating any Walking Dead stuff lower than a 4. Talk to me about Fear and talk to me about Preacher, and it's a different story. But I mean,
I don't know, man. Morgan nailing Nick with the stick. That's got to be 5 Aikido moves out of 5.
Yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot packed into this episode because we are ramping up to
Morgan.
End of All Out War and the crossover.
Yeah. So what was your bad?
There was something that was pointed out to me, and when you see it, you can't unsee it, and it's super annoying.
Okay, spit it out.
The cart walker that Jadis threatened Negan with.
Okay, the cart walker was part of my bad. Go ahead.
It had a piece of 3-foot rebar
through its brain.
Head. Yes.
I know.
Oh How could that be overlooked?
I know. How did they miss the brain and the brainstem? I know.
Yes. When we've been sticking toothpicks in their eyeballs and managing to kill walkers,
I
or
know.
pencils in their ears, like, or shotgun blast straight through the back of the head. Like, I'm just like, regular humans would survive this, let alone walkers. And then you put a piece of 3-foot rebar through a walker's head, and for absolutely no reason. Yeah, it was a cool looking walker. I get it. But it was also impractical and just, it was a hokey effect for nothing. I mean, what was her grand plan with that? Was she gonna turn Negan into a rolling walker? Was she gonna have the walker kill him? Was she just gonna leave him there while she took off in the helicopter? Like, what was the grand plan about bringing out this like souped up walker? Like, I get it that the trash heaps like to do artsy crap with walkers, but that was taking it a bit too far.
I got
And
nothing good to say about the go-kart walker.
okay.
Nothing.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't think I have to be this deadly, but that was a bit much. So that was my bad.
So I split my bad into a fail and an epic fail, and I would have to say that the go-kart walker was my epic fail. Same thing. I was like, wait a minute, it's got bar through its brain, man. How'd that
Yeah.
work? But the other
Yeah.
thing was they had to explain it on The Talking Dead. I didn't realize that it was set up in such a way that you could like lower it and have it bite whomever you were pushing the cart over. And I just thought it was just a really stupid idea. And the fact that they had to explain it made it even more stupid.
Exactly.
And then my fail was actually the helicopter because, at the risk of a terrible pun, I feel like that bird has flown. We're so far into this apocalypse now that all of a sudden these helicopters appearing again and again, I'm kind of done. I'm kind of over it.
So my other half and I have talked about this because one of my big gripes in 2.5 years
Is the gasoline thing.
is the gasoline. So avgas for helicopters.
Does it last longer?
No.
It lasts less time.
Yeah, and you can't yeah. There's just, unless you're refining it yourself, which is even more difficult. Like we're getting close to the unicorn and the zombie apocalypse.
I kind of felt like we might have jumped the shark a little bit in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, unless the only country affected by the zombie apocalypse was the U.S., and, this is Canada coming to save us.
Well, we know that Mexico was too.
Yeah. So maybe all of North America, maybe they shipped a helicopter in over on a Royal Naval ship or something. Yeah.
I don't know. But that was that was my fail and my epic fail, the helicopter and the go-kart walker.
Yeah. Yeah. That was tough to take.
So what was your ugly?
So my ugly was the whole Negan's kind of good, Rick's kind of bad, but specifically the scene, and I don't even want to call this like ugly good or ugly bad. Like, I don't even know what to think of this, because I mean, who can blame Rick for lying to the saviors and killing them when he said he wasn't gonna?
But don't you think it was awful when he like looked back at that guy and was like, "Yeah, dude, you got my back, thank you," and then turned around and like started killing all of the POW saviors? That was pretty bad.
Well, and when he crouched over that last one before he finished him off, and the guy's like, basically, you told us you wouldn't kill us and Rick's like, I lied. That scene that they squared in on, and they had to have done this intentionally, just the way that it was lit, and his axe handle and his facial hair and his like jean jackety thing.
Oh, he kind of looked like Negan.
He looked like Negan. I mean, it was like a poor man's Negan. And so him being the bad guy in that scene and looking so much like Negan had to be intentional. And I'm really surprised that it wasn't brought up on The Talking Dead.
Well,
and I actually
go ahead.
I haven't seen it in any other of the articles that I've read in the last couple of days. So I just thought that was super interesting. And like I said, I mean, you said Nika does one good thing and we're all like, oh, he's such a good guy. And, now Rick's bad. So, we're kind of flipping the script here, and we'll see if we like where we end up in 2 episodes.
So this is kind of Rotting Potpourri-ish, but it does play into your ugly. It's not my ugly. It's stuff that I had in Rotting Potpourri. But for one thing, so one of the themes that we kept seeing over and over and over in this episode was Rick looking at himself in a mirror again.
Yeah, I was going to say that seems to be kind of a common thread this season.
And I think it really has a lot to do with Rick being the good guy versus Rick being the bad guy, and who Rick sees when he looks in the mirror. And the other thing was him finally reading the letter from Carl at the end of the episode. That, as compared, as juxtaposed to your ugly, it's pretty intense.
It is. And I didn't notice it until I think it was pointed out on The Talking Dead that Michonne had to basically force Rick into reading it.
She did.
She made a really good point of, basically that was the last thing Carl did, and he wanted you to read it. So why are you waiting? So, yeah.
I also thought it was really interesting that she pointed out to him that he just could not tolerate facing that last act of Carl's, that thing that made Carl's death really real.
Right. Yep, he's got to deal with it.
So Morgan was my ugly.
Oh.
So many callbacks, so many questions. And what I actually did in preparation for this podcast tonight was I went back and I watched Clear, and I watched Here's Not Here.
Okay, good. Because, that rings out to me.
Oh my gosh. So the callbacks, so the themes of you were supposed to, nobody dies because everyone turns, don't ever be sorry. Those were repetitive themes throughout Clear and throughout Here's Not Here.
Oh, thank you.
And the moment where Rick says to Morgan in this episode, as they come across each other in the woods, Morgan, you know me. That is exactly what he said to Morgan when he was trying to reorient Morgan during Clear.
Oh, wow. So, I had been wondering about that. I had wondered what those phrases, and he is acting like he was in Clear.
So he kept saying, you were supposed to, you had the knife, you had the gun in Clear. He kept saying that over and over again. And I think it was him talking to Dwayne and telling Dwayne that he was supposed to kill his mom, Morgan's wife. Or maybe it's Morgan talking to himself saying, you had the gun, you had the knife, you had the opportunity, and you lost Dwayne. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And he says in both episodes, don't ever be sorry. And he said it again to Henry tonight when Henry was like, I'm sorry, after he said that he killed Jared. And he looked at Henry and he said, don't ever be sorry.
Wow.
So the callbacks were all really good. And if people are interested in Morgan's path, especially as we move forward with the crossover, I would recommend going back and watching Clear, which is in season 3. And
I thought about that, and I just didn't have time.
And Here's Not Here, which is in season 6.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting when Rick and Morgan talked. And Rick's like, why did you save me? Why did you save me?
Okay, so that was one of my questions. So I said so many callbacks, so many questions, right? So one of my questions was, is Dwayne really the only reason that Morgan saved Rick? Is the fact that Dwayne was there really the only reason that Morgan stepped in and saved him?
Well, and Rick has become he's becoming he was started on that path before Carl, but it's because he wasn't listening to Carl. And the common thread between those two right now is their sons kept them from becoming monsters. And without their sons, they're becoming monsters.
So that brings up another question for me about Morgan. Was Morgan this broken before the apocalypse, or was it the apocalypse that broke him? Was it losing Jenny that broke him and losing Dwayne that broke him? Because I think you've got to have some bit of brokenness like that to be as messed
Right.
up as Morgan is right now.
I think he was probably predisposed to being this way, but had the apocalypse never happened, he probably could have made it through life without going bonkers.
I don't
Just
know. Terrible things happen to people all the time.
they
I met
do.
someone today who had a terminal illness, who was losing a family member to a terminal illness, and just had another family member in a horrible accident. Horrible things happen to people all the time.
Yeah.
So, could Morgan have escaped this? Only if he made it through his life with Jenny and Dwayne intact.
Yeah. Oh, he probably could have lost Jenny, but I think losing Dwayne is really what broke him.
Probably.
He
and
was
losing
hanging on for
Dwayne the
his
way
son.
that he lost Dwayne.
Yeah. And, Rick could go down that same path where, he lost Lori, but he was hanging on for Carl. And now he's lost Carl.
And he's kind of hanging on for Shane's daughter.
I was going to say, and it's not really his. By the way, if you do not watch The Talking Dead, there was a hilarious
Oh my God, that was
moment,
hilarious. Yes,
right?
it was.
Like I actually had to rewind and watch it again because I laughed so hard I couldn't breathe. So Chris Hard was reading his favorite tweets from the show, and one of them was basically Carl's letter reads, "Dear Rick, Shane was my dad too." Love, Carl. I'm like, oh man,
brutal, totally brutal.
That was pretty funny.
All right, I've got a couple more Morgan questions. So, is his choice to kill instead of looking for Henry the catalyst for his leaving the group?
No.
Have we seen the catalyst for him leaving the group yet?
I want to say yes, but having seen the trailers for the Fear premiere, he has a leg wound. So something else is happening to Morgan.
So I have another question for you. Is there going to be closure with our group, or is he just going to disappear?
Oh, he's just, excuse me, he's just going to disappear.
You think so?
I think so, yeah. He's basically going to walk away, and it's going to be one of those where we've talked about, there
sometimes
would be
people just disappear.
Yeah. What's his name?
Heath.
Heath. Yes,
who may
Heath.
still come back.
He's supposed to come back.
Oh, and we still haven't seen anything about Aaron.
There was he's in the next episode.
I know, there was a little bit in the trailer.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But there was I read something about Heath and how he could return before season end, which I don't think he is, but they were talking about the helicopter, and are we in writing
that
potpourri?
would be lame. That would be totally lame.
Are we in writing potpourri at this point?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So writing potpourri, they were talking about so if you remember when Heath disappeared, Tara found that prox card, which is a little proximity card that gets you into buildings or
right,
places.
and like a matchbook.
Right. And that, that's prox cards, that's pretty high tech for the zombie apocalypse. So and it had like PPP or lowercase like DDD or 666 or something. It had writing on it of some sort. I can't remember, but they were talking about, now we've seen Georgie, and is Georgie part of the Commonwealth? And no, she's not the character from the Commonwealth that we think she is, but maybe the Commonwealth is still out there. Maybe the Commonwealth has a helicopter, and they use prox cards, and like Heath is there. And so there's, this probably could have been part of the Whisperer's Corner, but this, it's all super possible. Not probable, but possible. And yeah, there's a whole other group of bad guys that we're chronologically in the comic books we are supposed to confront after Negan.
Right.
And a lot of things that I've read have said that they're probably going to skip over that.
Really?
Yeah, because people are so down and so depressed from this all-out war that we kind of just need a respite. And could we go through another season of that?
So my question is, will they go back to that group of bad guys?
They're
they're pretty significant.
Yeah, I absolutely think they could. So after this, it would be the Whispers, which everyone thought Jadis was Alpha, and me included. I totally thought she could be Alpha. But we could just skip to straight into what we are in the comic books, which is the Commonwealth. We could skip straight to that and totally open up our world. Or maybe we could touch on them and then, for a season and then come back to the Whispers. But I've seen some talk where they've talked about maybe the Whisperers aren't the next bad guy. We need kind of an uplifting season. So, I don't know.
Okay, totally different topic in Rotting Potpourri. Who did Negan pick up?
There are 3 common theories out there, and I believe if one of them is not 100% true, there's a 50-50 chance it's the other 2.
So I think Thomas O'Mara is right, and I think it's the chick who escaped when Dwight was basically leading the Saviors into a trap.
Oh, yeah. So we've talked about before that Dwight's days are numbered for his double agency action. And because Daryl is now wearing Dwight's old vest, and of course Laura absolutely knows that Dwight turned.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens after when Rick gets to the Savior's compound and he's like, nobody's to know I'm alive.
Or you mean when Negan gets there?
I'm sorry, when Negan gets there and he is the cat that ate the canary. He knows stuff. And so it's gotta be Laura that's given him the 411 on everything that's gone down since he got knocked out of the fight. Or since she got knocked out of the fight too.
So my other theories were Simon or Dwight, but that doesn't really bear out because Negan is hiding the fact that he's returned from the both of them.
Right.
And then one of my theories was Gregory.
Gregory is the other one. And I saw one thing that was like, Dwight's wife Sherry's still out there somewhere.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, but she doesn't bring as much value to the storyline as the other ones do.
She doesn't. And my theory on that is Dwight is actually going to survive All Out War, and we're going to see him kind of go off on his own and look for his wife. And I predict that he's going to find his wife, but she's going to be like a walker in a cabin somewhere,
God.
Yeah, it's going to be a really terrible ending for him, but and that's of course if he doesn't die. But I think I really hope that Dwight gets closure with Sherry in some fashion or another. But so yeah, I don't think that it was Sherry. I don't think it was Gregory. Just because I don't think Negan would have been like that excited to see Gregory.
No, but I loved what he said, and I thought that was really funny. And I thought, most guys wouldn't insult a woman that way, but Negan would.
Oh, Negan totally would. And Laura's one of those where she hangs with guys all day. I mean, it is a sausage fest up in that Savior compound. So she's probably heard it all and then some. So, yeah, it's got to be Laura.
I think so, too. But yeah. I think that pushes Dwight's role really fast. Something's going to have to happen with Dwight really fast.
We've only got 2 episodes left.
I know. And are they going to nail All Out War, or are they going to lead it into the next season?
They pretty much said they're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I believe them.
Do we know how long
2
the
episodes?
Next episodes are?
I think the last episode is probably longer, but we still have to resolve the whole question of Oceanside.
We don't have to entirely solve it.
But are they going to be part of All Out War or not?
Yes, I think so.
So we have to resolve the question of Oceanside.
Which it looks like we kind of confront that next episode, maybe.
I agree, since we've got
Possibly.
Aaron in the next episode.
Right. Right. So, speaking of what's going to happen to Dwight, Tara's okay. Yay,
Yes.
Tara!
And they did say that it was going to be revealed in this episode, so I think it's for real. I don't think they're going to suddenly be like, oh, we're sorry, she's actually going to turn.
Right. I actually thought it was interesting that all of the Hilltoppers had turned that were gonna, and some of the Saviors still hadn't.
That's
that?
true. Yeah, no, they had guys but they had supposedly lopped
Ran
off
into a
bits.
horde.
So
Yeah. So Tara's still alive, and she's pretty much like bygones,
I thought that was weird. I mean, Daryl was totally, Dwight's so horrible, and are you just going to give him a pass? And she's like, yeah, well, maybe.
He saved her life. I think that he saved her life.
I do too. I don't think it was what Daryl said and she just got lucky. I think it was intentional.
Absolutely. So given the given, I understand that Daryl has his own reasons for hating Dwight, but Dwight has helped them a lot. I think that Daryl is being unreasonable about his demands for Dwight.
Daryl, unreasonable?
And he's also being unreasonable in he doesn't understand why Tara forgives him. I mean, I think Daryl's a little too set in his ways, and he needs to see things from a different perspective.
Well, maybe All Out War will do that.
I don't know.
You don't think so?
Yeah, I don't know. So I was just looking at the run times for the last two episodes, Worth and Wrath, and they're both listed as 44 minutes long. So
we're not getting any extra time in the last episode.
Oh, we are wrapping this up.
Which makes sense because they're premiering Fear right after it, so it makes sense that they wouldn't run it long.
Yep, so we're wrapping this up in an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. That'll be interesting.
Well, do you have anything else for Writing Potpourri?
I don't think I do.
I did. So our savior with a good heart. Our savior, I think they're shipping him and Maggie, don't you?
Oh.
Alden, I think his name is. Alden.
Yeah. And I would like to think so, but I don't.
You don't?
No. It's funny. He and Diane were sitting by the fire.
True.
Yeah. Yeah. Are we running? I mean, I definitely would. I would definitely trust Alden. Are we 100% trusting the saviors that are left at the compound?
Maybe not 100%, but pretty close. I mean, I think they made their choice. I think they saw that Simon had made his choice and he wasn't going to help any of them.
Right.
And I think they realized how little they were worth.
Yeah. Well, that's all that I had.
Yeah, I think the only other stuff was just the stuff between the couples, the stuff between Ezekiel and Carol, and then the stuff between Rick and Michonne. Those were kind of nice parallels.
Yeah. I think it was pointed out on The Talking Dead how basically the role between Ezekiel and Carol kind of flipped. You know, she brought him up when he was at his lowest, and she had given up, and he kind of talked her down from that ledge. So,
Mm-hmm.
lot of good interplay between characters.
Yeah, I thought so too. Well, my goodness, 2 episodes left, and then Fear, which I never thought I would be excited about. I know I keep saying that, but I just can't believe it.
So, and you're going to hate me for mentioning this, but, you know, it comes back April 10th.
Preacher?
Preacher!
Oh my God, we so have to finish.
know.
Oh my God.
I know.
We're so bad.
We're so bad.
All right, this weekend we have to do the last episode of Preacher.
Yep. I got to field dress some small animals this weekend, and then we got a podcast with Preacher.
It's totally appropriate. You know what sound a bunny makes when it dies.
I'm just doing it so, like, my dogs know I can, like, make good on my threat. I will turn you into a pair of slippers if you take one more bra outside.
Bandit.
He's
nice and fluffy. He would make good slippers.
He would. I love that dog.
I do too.
He's an angel.
Like Pundit.
And
Smalls.
And Yammy. We're just going to start naming dogs now.
Right. Spooky Chef.
I almost said that last episode.
Oh, that's funny.
All right.
Well, just remember.
Take it.
One dead
day
at a time.
We're
We're still terrible.
Still terrible. But we mean well. And, you know, like Chris Hardwick says, to be nice to each other. Like, you know, and we're all going through some crap. Today was a rough day. If you or somebody you know is being domestically abused, or you yourself is being domestically abused, please seek help.
For the love of God, get some help, please.
Yes.
Was that what was behind the shooting at YouTube?
Yes. It looks like a domestic incident. The woman tried to kill her boyfriend, and then there were 2 other women that got shot also.
Oh, that's terrible.
The National Domestic Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. Reach out for some help. You know, all of us go through crap at some point. Look around. There are people with, like, awful lives who are getting through it, and somebody out there cares, and they can help you get through it. So reach out for
the Buddha's right. It's all suffering. Everybody suffers. You just got to figure out how to get through it.
Yep. Reach out for some help, not a gun.
Yeah.
Whether it's to do harm to other people or harm to yourself, like, just get some help. And, you know, we can all bond through zombie apocalypse.
Damn, we're getting serious again. So go throw some money at amvets.org, and if you or someone you love needs help in a domestic violence situation, please make sure that you rewind and get that phone number.
800-799-7233. So this is the Real Housewives telling you that, you know, thank you for listening. We love our listeners. We hope that you're all okay.
Right on. Have a good week.
Have a good week, everyone.